going on? Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Off the Schneid, your weekly Wednesday. A little bit of redraft, start sit questions if you got them. Pick'em's been on a bit of a hot streak. It's officially a winning streak, back-to-back weeks. Only 2 weeks that I put in bets for Pick'ems, so that's a good start. We'll be talking about that today. If you looked at the thumbnail, you saw the bet slip from last week that won. If you watched the episode last week, if not, go back and watch it. 12 out of 13 picks were correct. So I don't expect that every single week. And realistically, I should have crushed it a lot more than I did. I should have won on multiple slips. I should have took my own advice. Many of those, 12 or 13 picks, I didn't even bet on. So that's kind of frustrating to leave that kind of money on the table, but it is what it is. We'll see if you can have a repeat performance this week. I always say in fantasy football, you're only as good as your last week. So what happened last week means nothing at this point. We gotta keep it moving and see if we can keep the winning streak alive. Craig, my guy, what's happening? Always happy to see you. Always happy to see you, my guy. Let's get into this though. So I don't want to waste too much time. Again, talking about last week, you can go watch the episode. 12 out of 13. Very happy about that. But let's dig into this week. I'm going to start with the Pick'em Plays for week 4 for this week, move into some DraftKings stuff, and then we'll rip a bunch of battle royales to finish the show. Probably, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, whatever. We'll see. We'll see how many, if there's people in the chat and it's a good time, then we'll dig into it. But let's jump over to Underdog. Let's take a look at some slips that I already put in. So I shared one of these on Twitter. This one I shared on Twitter. Let's zoom in here. Let's get this a little bit bigger so we can see it. There we go. So I shared this one on Twitter. A 4-banger. Gabe Davis, 45.5. Derrick Henry, 66.5. We'll get into why when I go through the whole betting, all the plays, go through the whole list of plays. I'll get into all these in a little more detail. Back to the well, 25.5 receiving yards for Bijan. The reason I put this bet slip in so early, I was worried about the Mike Thomas, line going up, into the 60s or close to 60, something like that. It actually went down, which is a little frustrating. So I'm a little high there. That's okay. I wanted to get it there in case it went higher. It goes lower. So what do? I react and I bet it again. So Michael Thomas, 52.5 yards now. I'll share this slip on Twitter after the episode here. I want to share all my slips that I'm actually putting in and betting on. So I'll get into this a little more detail, but I just wanted to talk about that Mike Thomas slip that I put in a little bit early, like I said, but I expected the line to actually go up, not down. So it is what it is. You gotta adjust and do what you got to do. So we're going to dig into this. This changed earlier today. I'm not sure what the 24 hours, because this is changing every day now. For this week, anyways. Rashad White now. George Pickens was earlier today and yesterday. I would have hit that. I'm still going to probably hit that. We'll talk about that in a second. But with this Rashad White, as it sits right now, 75.5. I'm waiting until tomorrow. I'm not going to bet on this one, but I guess if I had to, I'll give it to you. I would take the lower right now, but I'm not betting this. I'm not touching the Rashad White. Let's zoom in. I'm not touching the Rashad White if it's going to change for tomorrow. You don't have to win the bet, to qualify for the 10K, 10 people, 10K, 100K giveaway that Underdog does every week. But I'm still trying to win these bets, obviously. I did in the 2 a week. I won my bet. But with this for Rashad White, if it's changing, which it is, I'm going to move on to the next, wait till tomorrow, see what they're offering. Maybe I should have got in on George Pickens, but it is what it is. We'll get there when we get there. So nothing to see there, to be honest. I'm avoiding that. Thursday night's a weird game. There's really nothing that I love. I don't have a bet slip this week on the Thursday night game. I did last week and didn't end up hitting it. But I wasn't that confident in it, to be honest. I showed it on the Wednesday show that I did last week, showed my slip, basically said, I don't think I'm going to win this thing. Don't tail me, because there's a lot. It's a big ask. It was a big ask, and it always is with the Thursday slip. If you have any more than 2 or 3 picks, if it's 4 picks, then you're asking for trouble. But I just don't love anything on here, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe 2 passing touchdowns for Jared Goff. Maybe if you wanted to, fire that in. 255.5 passing yards. Don't love it. He doesn't really run the ball. I just don't love anything there with Jared Goff off the top. Amon-Ra, yeah, he could smash this. He could also not hit it. I'm just not touching it. He's a little bit banged up. I took a look at the 4.5 first downs, but that's a fairly big ask. So I didn't touch anything here for Amon-Ra. Laporta, you never know. He's still a rookie. Didn't touch it here. Again, I looked at the first downs. 2.5 first downs is what I looked at here, but didn't pull the trigger. Josh Reynolds up and down, not touching him. Not particularly looking at IDP unless I see something that really stands out. And right now it doesn't for me. If there was going to be a side I was going to take this game, it was going to be the Green Bay side. So this number keeps going down. We're at 229.5 passing yards. It was at 233, 232, 231, something like that. It's been going down throughout the day. And if Christian Watson's playing, which is possible, Aaron Jones might play as well, this is getting more and more attractive. So if it keeps going down, I might hit this before the game starts. We'll see. Keep an eye on Twitter. My Twitter handle right here, _the Schneid. I might hit that. I'd like the rushing yards too. 16.5 rushing yards. I don't mind that. So I'm going to just keep an eye on this. Even the rushing attempts, it's on the Green Bay side for me. If I'm gonna make some picks and if I'm gonna bet on this. But nothing right now. I'm not hanging my hat on anything just yet, but keep your eyes on the Twitter machine if I do put something in. I think he's just going to spread the ball around, so I'm not particularly touching any of these receivers. Christian Watson's not even in here, and if he plays, that's going to gobble some up. Same with Aaron Jones. If he plays, he's going to gobble up some receptions, some targets, and that sort of thing. Kicker's not touching it. Not another wide receiver, not on that. IDP, I'm leaving it alone. Then we get to London, Wembley, Jacksonville for back-to-back 2 weeks in a row. Jacksonville will be in London. Atlanta in the first game. This number is looking pretty juicy for Desmond Ridder. I'm still not touching it. I'm not hanging my hat on Desmond Ridder just yet. I do like this number. I think the Jacksonville defense is easier to throw on than it is to run on. It's just that crazy things happen in London. It's always kind of a crazy game. The time difference, the disruption of schedule, things like that. I just don't love betting on these London games. If I do, a lot of times it's a kicker because they seem to love, when kickers get some action in London, obviously football, soccer, football reference. But this is the side that I'm looking at is the Atlanta Falcons side. If I do touch it, and I'll get to it in a second, but the 191.5 passing yards is getting interesting. The rushing yards is pretty interesting. So we'll see if I do anything with Desmond Ridder. Keep an eye on Twitter, but nothing right now, nothing I'm going to hang my hat on just yet. But moving on to the running back situation, Bijan Robinson, I'm going back to the well. Both weeks I won with Bijan Robinson on a bet slip, and I'm going back to the well with Bijan. If you ask me, he's the second best running back in the NFL right now, just behind Christian McCaffrey. I've got Bijan Robinson as my number 2 running back, and 25.5 receiving yards. He's beaten that every game so far. Last week, even Dameon Pierce for the Houston Texans beat that against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think a couple other running backs have gotten there. The Chiefs with Jerick McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they beat that collective, combined. So I like that. I'm going back to the well, 25.5. He's getting targets. He's getting looks. Shifty, get him in space. I love it. I'm taking that. I already have. You saw my bet slip a second ago. That's the one that I posted on Twitter already. So that's what I'm hitting is the Bijan Robinson higher 25.5. I'm going to keep betting him until he lets me down. And even if he does, I'll probably go back to that well. He's that good. I'm a little worried about the rushing yards, but give me that 25.5, 26 receiving yards for Bijan. Let's move on. Don't love anything else. Didn't take anything else for this game in London. Again, it's weird games. The crazy things happen in London. I'm just avoiding it. Plus, I don't want to get up that early to watch the game. I will, but I don't want to have a lot riding on it, if you know what I mean. So there you go. I did look at this actually, 33.5 receiving yards for Kyle Pitts. I really don't mind that. His ADOT is, 12 plus yards downfield. So, and he's getting targeted. It's just tough. If I end up taking Desmond Ridder in over his passing yards, then I'm going to have to, basically parlay that with Kyle Pitts and his 33.5. If I do take a slip, that's what I'll do is I'll put them both on there and roll with it. But I'm not putting that on a slip just yet. Again, check Twitter to see if I end up doing it. But this would be the one that I'm looking at, 33.5 for Kyle Pitts. Not hanging my hat on it just yet, but keep an eye out. If this was 2 field goals for Younghoe Koo, I hit that last week, 1 yard off on KJ Osborne. I was 1 yard away from winning another $500 on the weekend with KJ Osborne. His line was 36.5. He had 36 exactly. That's a real kick in the nuts, but it is what it is. And I had Koo on there, 2 field goals. If this was 5.5, I hate these whole round numbers because you don't win. So if this was 5.5, I would hit it, but I'm not touching it there. IDP, not touching it. The Jaguars side of this game, I'm avoiding it. If anything, I was looking at the rushing yards for Trevor Lawrence, but I'm not pulling the trigger there. So nothing to really see here. Maybe I could get on board with the receiving yards if you want to touch it, but I'm not touching this side of the game. I'm just avoiding it. Just leaving it there. I looked at this too, the Brandon McManus 1.5 field goal. I was thinking about that. I'm not hanging my hat on it. Just can't get too invested in that. So I'm leaving that one alone for now. Baltimore, Cleveland division game. It's an AFC North division game. I've watched a lot of these in my days. Look at the background here. And with Lamar Jackson letting me down last week, he's the one that I got wrong last week. One of 13 that I got wrong last week was the Lamar Jackson over passing yards. I'm certainly not going back to that well, that's for sure. That was a huge piss off considering the game went into overtime. And coincidentally, with the KJ Osborne 1 yard off, I was 1 yard off on Zay Flowers as well. He had 48.5 line. He hit 48 exactly. Luckily, Lamar Jackson didn't throw for enough passing yards anyways, so it ruined that ticket, but it was right there. So the reads were pretty on point last week. Hopefully it's the same this week. So I'm not touching this. That defense in Cleveland is fantastic. It's in Cleveland, so they're going to have the advantage there. And then if I can't get behind anything with Lamar, then I can't get behind the receiving yards for his wide receivers, tight end, Mark Andrews. I just can't get behind it. And then with Justin Tucker, you could take this, kicking points. That's, 2 field goals and an extra point. He could absolutely get there. That's for sure. But I just don't love it. If it was 1.5 extra points, maybe 1.5 field goals, I could get behind that. But 6 kicking points, I think he could probably hit it, but I'm not gonna bet on it. I'm not hitting, I'm not going to that well. Deshaun Watson, I'm avoiding it. Jerome Ford, not touching it against that defense. Not touching the wide receivers. Thought about Elijah Moore for a second, but not doing it. Same thing with Njoku, but not doing it. 6.5 is too much for Hopkins. I hit that. 1.5 field goals got me there last week. But that's a little lofty for this week's slate. So I'm avoiding that one as well. Now, this is a game that, Battle Royales, DraftKings, everybody's going to be talking about. Highest game total by a fair margin, 54.5 or something like that is what the line is. So highest game total, should be a shootout. The Dolphins just hung 70 points on the friggin' Denver Broncos, which we'll get to in a second when we go to DraftKings, because that's some madness there with the Denver Broncos defense. But I don't mind these numbers. I'm just not going to do. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go over on the 274.5 yards for Tua. Could he do it? Absolutely. No question. Obviously, he can do it. But I'm not going to go to that well. I don't mind this number, 52.5 for Raheem Mostert. I took the over last week with Brian Robinson against this defense, over 52.5 or something like that. He had 70 yards, so he hit the over. Good job not betting on that, Cody. Nice work. But I don't mind the line there for Raheem Mostert. If you want to go for it, I'm not putting it on my card, but if you want to go for it, I don't hate that line. This is pretty juicy for Tyreek. 87.5 receiving yards. That's a pretty juicy number. I'm not touching it quite yet. I might be throwing that on a card. It's not written down. I'm not taking it as it sits right this second, but that's a juicy ass number. Like, he did what, 145.5 of football basically last week. He's at over 200 already this year. He did have that 140 something yard game, but man, with the game script that this should be, I like that number. Again, I'm not putting it on my slip just yet, but I do like this number. I might bet it. Check Twitter. I might bet that eventually. We'll see. This is where I'm going. I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills side of this game. It's in Buffalo. Weather's fine. I think it's 24 degrees Celsius, which is, I don't know, high 60s Fahrenheit for my American friends. But I'm taking this over 270.5 passing yards. I'm going higher there. I'm taking that. Traditionally, if you watch the Bills play a lot against teams like the Chiefs, teams like my Bengals, teams like the Miami Dolphins, when Ken Dorsey and Josh Allen need to get it done, they move that offense. They're high powered, they're fast paced, they're moving, and they throw up yards. You know, Josh Allen can easily surpass this. Very easily. That defense is still relatively suspect in Miami. Even Russell Wilson surpassed this by over 30 yards last week. So give me the over 270.5 for Josh Allen. I'll be taking that. And then with that, we'll get there in a second. I don't mind James Cook, but I'm not touching anything here. I don't mind this for Stephon Diggs, but where I'm going is Gabe Davis. 43.5 yards. I'm taking that. You know, Josh Allen, if he's going to get over 300 yards or, 270.5 at least, right? If he's going to get to there, then Gabe Davis can get this on one catch. He legitimately can get this on one catch. Hopefully he gets at least 2 or 3 and he gets to, 50, 60, 70, 100 yards. I don't really care. Over, 44 or more, and I'm winning the bet. So I'm taking the over here. I've already done it. I've already shown a slip where I have Gabe Davis at this number. Actually, it might be higher. I might have had it at 46.5 or something like that. I can't remember. Check the slip. It's on Twitter. It's up there already. But I'm taking this number for sure, 43.5. Hammer the over. These two are just chewing into each other. We'll see if something, levels out at the tight end position for Buffalo. As it sits right now, these guys are just eating into each other. One might hit it, one might not, whatever, but I'm just avoiding the tight end situation for now. Moving on to my Cincinnati Bengals against the Tennessee Titans. I don't like to bet the lower too often, and I probably won't put this on my bet card. I'll say that. I probably won't because I just can't, because it's my team. But if I was a betting man, which I obviously am, and I wasn't invested in this game like I am, I would take the lower on rushing yards for Joe Mixon here. The Tennessee Titans are probably the best run defense in the NFL, and their pass defense, their secondary is pretty atrocious. The Bengals are going to throw the ball anyways. They're a pass first offense, right? So I'm taking the under here if you want to. Again, I'm not putting it on my card just because it's my team, and I don't know, I feel like an asshole if I do. So, but that's what I like. I mean, this is pretty lofty considering the defense that Tennessee has against the run and how bad they are against the pass. So I would take the lower. I'm not going to put it on a bet card. You won't see me post it on Twitter, but that's what I like when they're talking about Joe Mixon. Jamar Chase, I'm not 100% on this receiving yards. That's definitely doable. Obviously, he smashed that last week, but I don't mind the 6.5 receptions. He could get to 7 receptions against the secondary. quite easily if he's getting targeted double digits, 12 or more, which is certainly on the table for Jamar Chase. I like that. I'm not betting it yet. I don't have it written down. I'm not touching that quite yet. Reason why? Because I'm going to be hitting T. Higgins. Give me the over 58.5 yards for T. Higgins. I like that. Actually, I don't. Sorry, I had a different number written down, and I was worried about that moving up. Okay, so it moved up already. That's annoying. I want this to go down. Strike it from the record. I'm not taking T. Higgins at 58.5. It's got to go down for me. I need to see that at 54.5 in that Rams game. It just 8 targets. He had 8 targets in the opening game, not a single catch. He had 8 targets against the LA Rams, had 2 catches. T. Higgins can't catch a cold right now. Yes, he's not getting like his catchable ball rate is like 58% or something like that, which is pretty bad. So he's obviously not getting catchable balls, but there's a few, especially in that Rams game, that hit him right in the numbers, right in the hands, and he just outright dropped it. So if this goes down any lower, like I said, 54.5 is the number I have in mind. I'll hit this for T. Higgins. I just got to see it go down a little bit, maybe 56.5. We'll see, but I need it to go the other way. It's gone up. I need it to go down. So we'll see. I'm going to keep an eye on that. Same with Tyler Boyd. Chances are pretty high I'll hit one of these receivers for this game, and then package it up with something else that I got in a second here. Don't mind Evan McPherson, 1.5 field goals made. Don't mind that, but I don't have it written down. I'm not taking it quite yet. Something I really like in this game, I've already bet it. If you saw my card, I posted it on Twitter already. Derrick Henry, 66.5 rushing yards. To be honest with myself and you guys, the Bengals have always kind of struggled against the run. It's always been a thing. They've never had a super strong run defense. They have some solid players up front, BJ Hill, DJ Reader. Their linebackers are fantastic. Realistically, they're very good. But they've always given up some chunk plays. It's at home. It's in Tennessee. Derrick Henry is going to get 15 carries at least. As long as they can stay in the game, they're going to be running the ball. And I think that I honestly think that he's going to smash this number. I think Derrick Henry's a really good play this week. People are just hating on him. Obviously, he's the new favorite whipping boy right now in the NFL. There's always, a reason. There's always someone new that just cycles through. And Derrick Henry's up there right now saying he's too old. He's dust. He's this, he's that. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. But give me the 67 rushing yards. I'll take that, in a road game. Well, home game for him, road game for my Bengals. I like that. It was a pretty emotional Super Bowl rematch last week against the Rams. We got that win. Defense played well, but they're more of a pass-heavy, offense with the Rams. They don't really run the ball enough. They should run it more, but it is what it is. Give me the over 67 yards for Derrick Henry. Again, I already bet it. You've already seen it on a slip, and I might touch it again. We'll see. Craig's hoping for a rebound. I don't have him a ton in fantasy in my managed leagues, in my redraft leagues, but I've got him a fair amount in best ball, and I've got him already a fair amount in battle royales, which we'll do a bunch towards the end of the show. We'll see if I pick him there. I think he rebounds. Again, it's my team. It's the Bengals. I love them, but they're gonna give up some yards on the ground. 67 is not a big number for a guy like Derrick Henry. So, realistically, Derrick Henry can hit that in one play. He takes a 75-yard run to the crib every single year. He does that. So give me the over. Another thing I'm taking in this game, as long as it stays here, is this 5.5 kicking points for Nick Folk. I'll be taking that. You could go with, or that's extra points. I thought it was field goals. So 2 field goals and he wins. So I like that number, 5.5. I don't particularly think he gets a field goal and 3 extra points. I don't see them scoring 3 touchdowns against the Bengals, but I'm good. That basically means you're going to need 2 field goals, and I like that. They can move the ball. They're going to get stopped. The Bengals have a good enough defense for sure that they can make some stands. They're very much a bend don't break defense. They kind of always have been, at least in the Zach Taylor era. They've been a bend don't break defense. They're going to get to the red zone, hopefully off the back of Derrick Henry, kick 2 field goals, and I win both of these. So that's what I like there, 5.5, as long as it stays there. If it gets to 6, not touching it. 6.5, certainly not touching it. But I like 5.5. So give me Nick Folk 5.5 kicking points. 2 field goals is what you need out of that. Moving on. Another good division rival matchup. We got the Commanders versus the Eagles. The Eagles defense, you need to attack through the air. That's pretty apparent throughout the whole season so far. I mean, if you look at their lineup, look at their roster, then it's pretty obvious that that's the only way to beat this defense. They're absolutely stacked on the defensive line. So you need to attack them through the air. But I'm not so sure Sam Howell can get this done. 213.5. I just can't do it. Realistically, what I was looking at was the rushing yards for Sam Howell, but he hasn't run enough. He's only had, 1 or 2 tops, attempts so far. If he was at, 2 to 3, maybe up to 4 in a game or something like that in only 3 weeks, I get it, but I need to see more attempts, and I just haven't. So I can't justify the rushing yards. I think he can get there, but I needed to see more attempts when I looked through the box scores. He's just not attempting to run the ball. Do I think he can hit it? Sure. He could hit the passing yards too, but I'm not going there. I'm going to avoid this side for the most part. Am I avoiding the side? No, I'm not. I got one bet here on the Commanders side, but it's not Sam Howell. It's not Antonio Gibson. Just too much eating into each other. I love me some Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson is one of my guys. He could definitely hit this 52.5 rushing yards, even against this defense, but I'm not taking that chance. I'm not rolling the dice with that. 6.5 receiving yards. That wasn't up literally an hour ago, but so I didn't get to quite look into that number, but I'm still just avoiding this. This is a phenomenal defense. It's in Philadelphia. I can't get behind the running backs on this slate. Terry McLaurin could absolutely, he does well against the Eagles. That's not a huge number, but I'm not going there. Where I'm going is right here. Curtis Samuel does not get much respect in this league or in fantasy circles. He's already had 250 plus games just receiving this season, 2 out of 3, 50 plus receiving. He runs the ball. The third game that he didn't get 50 plus, he had a 13-yard rush, 2 catches for 11 yards. So that's 32 yards total, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the higher on the 34.5 rushing and receiving. He's already beaten that twice. 2 out of 3 weeks, he's beaten that just through the air. And then you throw in a couple sweeps. He runs the ball. He might get 2 touches, running the ball. And that's enough for me, for him to get up to even call it 10 yards. Then he gets, 30 yards through the air. Nothing crazy. This should be a bit of a blowout. I think we can all agree Philly's probably going to win this game. They're going to have to throw the ball. They're going to have to come back. So give me that low number. I'll take that for Curtis Samuel, a guy that's pretty much always on the field. He's like 75 to 80% snap share. Again, they're going to have to come back. That's a pretty easy click for me. I think I already showed it on a bet slip. If not, I'll be putting it up on Twitter at the end of the show. So follow along on Twitter. So 35 yards rushing and receiving, Curtis Samuel. I like that. So that's where I'm going there. Jahan Dotson just hasn't shown it yet. He could definitely hit that, but he hasn't shown it to me yet. So not yet, Jahan Dotson, not yet. Moving on to the other side of the slate. I don't have any bets just because I don't have any bets on any Eagles because they could just beat the shit out of the Commanders and run the ball. Maybe Kenny Gainwell gets in there. Maybe Rashad Penny finally gets some run. I don't know. I looked at this 2 passing TDs, because he hasn't done it yet. He's only had 1 in all 3 games. I think it's quite likely he gets to 2 in this game passing against this secondary, but I just can't take that risk when they might beat the piss out of the Commanders. Rushing touchdown, yeah, maybe, but I'm just not going to hang my hat on that. So I avoided the Eagles side. Again, just because it's a little too thin and they could be beating the crap out of them. And then it's just, a massacre and you never know who gets the points and who gets the yards. So I'm not touching this side yet. I thought about going back to the well with my guy Jake Elliott. Hit him last week as well. 2 field goals, maybe 3 extra points. You could do that too. I'm not touching it. I might, again, follow along on Twitter. I might put that on a bet slip. We'll see. But right now, I'm not going to recommend it just yet. Carolina, Minnesota. Definitely got some action here. Nothing for Kirk Cousins. He could definitely beat this passing yards. No problem there. I'm not touching this because he literally never runs the ball, maybe once in a blue moon. But this I don't mind whatsoever. I'm going to be taking this somewhere. Alexander Mattison, over 52.5 yards. This defense gives up yards on the ground. They have every single week. They've shown and they've literally told us that Alexander Mattison, still has their trust and is still going to get some run. He had 20 carries last week against the Chargers, faced 2 very tough run defenses to start the year. 90 rushing yards last week. Give me the 53 over rushing yards for Alexander Mattison. I like that. Even if they are beat, especially if they're beating them pretty, profusely, which is, fairly likely. So I like that bet. I'll have it somewhere. I don't yet. So keep an eye on Twitter because I will put that on a card. I just like the number too much. Real Talk Wrestling, not yet. I think this is Josh Kimmel, isn't it? What's up if it is? I haven't talked about DJ Moore's line yet. I'll get there. But it's, I don't know. That whole team is just an absolute dumpster fire. So we'll see. Justin Jefferson, 150 yards every goddamn week, but I'm not touching this just yet. They could just beat them too badly. That's why another reason why I like the Alexander Mattison line for rushing yards. It blew my cover. I know you're a wrestling guy, Josh. I know you're a wrestling guy. But anyways, I just don't know if he's going to get enough, looks if they're beating the crap out of them. So I'm not touching Justin Jefferson. I hit last week on the receiving touchdown that he had. We hit that. And he could definitely do that again without getting the yards. But I like the Madison line here too much. And KJ Osborne cost me $500 last week on 1 yard, 36.5. He gets 36. That hurts. But this is the line that's pretty disrespectful. I'm hitting this. I already did. If I haven't posted that slip yet, I will after the show's done. Follow on Twitter. 38.5 receiving yards. Respect. That's kind of rude to me. I don't know where this is coming from. 38.5. I think this should be. He was at 49.5 last week. We bet it. We hit the over. I didn't bet it actually because I'm an idiot. Don't follow my own advice, but I did have it on the show, 49.5, and he hit the over. Then he goes down to 38.5 in a juicy matchup. That makes no sense to me. So give me the over there, 42 yards and we're laughing. Don't need much. I think that's pretty easily attainable. His snap share's gone up every week. I think it's, as much as I love me some KJ Osborne and the amount of exposure I have to him in best ball, I want to see KJ Osborne continue to do well. And he hasn't done poorly this season, but the bottom line is, and the fact of the matter is, Jordan Addison's a better wide receiver all around than KJ Osborne, and he could beat this on one play. He's had a couple deep touchdowns already in his career, his short career. He could beat this in one play. Give me the over 39 yards. To me, that's a little disrespectful, if I'm being honest. So give me the over there. Don't mind the over here for Hawkinson, but the lines that I'm already taking for the Vikings, I don't have it on there. We hit Greg Joseph last week, 3 extra points, but this is a little aggressive. Maybe you could do the field goals. I'm not putting that on my card just yet, but you could look there. Where do we got on the other side here? Poor rushing defense with Minnesota, so I don't hate this line for Sanders, but that's not something I'm putting on my card. We got a revenge game. Adam Thielen. He knows his team. He knows his defense. He knows the coach. 51.5. He almost 3 times that last week. Another little bit of disrespect at Underdog on this one. 51.5. Give me the over. 14, what do you have? 14 targets last week, 11 receptions, 145 yards, I believe. Revenge game against his old team that let him walk out the door, cut him, I believe. 52 yards, you better believe it. Again, he knows these defenders. He knows this team. Give me the revenge game over Adam Thielen, 52 and a half or 52 yards, 51 and a half yards receiving. Give me the over all day. Love that. I'll be betting on that. Not on a slip yet. Follow on Twitter. You'll see it on a slip almost 100% of the time. We got another. It's a bit of a, rivalry week, division rivalry week. Jeez. Tampa Bay versus New Orleans. It's always spicy, these two, when they get together. It's always a spicy matchup. Baker's just coming in. This is his first matchup in this rivalry. I'm not taking the over passing yards here. He just hasn't shown that he can consistently get there, so I'm not touching that. Nothing to see here for Mayfield. Rashad White, if I was going to go somewhere, and I hit this last week, the 17 and a half receiving yards, I would go back to the well there, but I'm not hanging my hat on it. I'm not putting that on my slip. And he's got the total yards right now, but that'll change tomorrow. Again, follow on Twitter. I'll have something. I'm not touching this one. I'll take something else when they change it for tomorrow. Moving on, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Again, if I'm not taking anything with Baker Mayfield and I can't hang my hat on Baker Mayfield, then I can't very well take his pass catchers now, can I? So I'm just, if I had to, I would go Chris Godwin because, Marcus Lattimore and Mike Evans always have a battle. They're always at each other's throats. It's a little bit personal with those two. So I would take, the inconspicuous Chris Godwin over the middle of the field at the over, but I'm not hanging my hat. I'm not putting on my slip just because I can't get behind Baker. So I can't get behind the pass catchers. Kate Otten cost me, another $1,000 last week. Got put in the doghouse after missing a tight end screen. Had 16 yards receiving. His line was 25 and a half. Had 16 receiving on the first fucking drive, and then gets put in the doghouse after missing a tight end screen that might have gotten him there off just that play. So that one really broke my heart, Kate Otten. I'm not touching him. Nothing here. Don't mind Chris Olave this week. I love him in Battle Royale, that's for sure. I would like him in DraftKings for sure as well. 6 receptions, 74 receiving yards. He could smash both. But I'm going to take the easier route here. And I already talked about it, to open the show. 52 and a half receiving yards for Michael Thomas. You better believe I'm betting on that. He had 6 receptions, I think 50 yards exactly last week in the second half with Jameis Winston, who's playing this week, who's starting for the Saints. Give me Slant Boy 53 yards. That's easy peasy to me. I don't know why they have this, 53 and a half rushing and receiving. He's not getting any rushing attempts. Watch, he gets one for 20 yards this week, but that just is weird to me. Either way, you could take the receptions too. I don't mind that. I think there's very, very good chance he gets 5 receptions, but I just think the receiving yards is easy as well. So I might take both. I've already taken this twice, one at 56 and a half, one at 52 and a half. I might go ahead and take the receptions on another bet slip. He's shown that he's healthy. He's getting targeted at least 8 or 9 times a game. So I like Mike Thomas this week, especially when it's this kind of shallow of a, proposition from the line makers. So give me the over there. Rashid Shaheed had 0 receiving yards last week. A little bit of fluctuation. I don't mind the over, but I'm not taking it. Nothing else to see here. Bunch of IDP. I don't like to touch IDP unless something really stands out. This was not here a few, when I was preparing for the show. So that's interesting. I like this. I'll be taking this. 2 passing touchdowns for Matt Stafford against this secondary. This wasn't available when I was starting to make my slip here, write everything down for my show prep, which was literally, an hour or 2 ago. So I'll take the over. I'll put that on my card. Over 2 passing touchdowns. The secondary is terrible for the Colts. Tutu Atwell, Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, Tyler Higbee. Give me the over. Give me the over. I think he gets in the end zone twice. I'll be taking that somewhere. I like that. I don't even hate this passing yards, but I'll have to look into. I'm not going to hang my hat on that. I'd have to look into that number a little bit more. But right off the top, I really don't mind this. I'll take that. 2 passing touchdowns for Matt Stafford. Yeah, I'll take that. This wasn't available, so we're doing this on the fly. This was not here a little bit ago. I don't know. That maybe nothing to see there. I'd have to look more into it. Yeah, I'd have to look more into these. A lot of maybes here. I do like Tutu Atwell a lot this week. I have him already a bunch in battle royales. I would put him on a slip for DraftKings. So I don't mind this, but I'd have to dig more into these numbers. I like this number here so far, just off the top. But keep an eye on my Twitter for slips if you want to tail. I'm not sure what I'll take. Puka, I'd rather take the 52 for Tutu than 54 for Puka, if I'm being honest. I think Tutu will have a serious role once Cooper Kupp comes back. I think he's going to have a role regardless. I'm not so sure about Puka. Mind you, this game doesn't have Cooper Kupp, so you can feel free to take that, I guess. But I don't mind this number off the top. I'm not going to hang my hat on it just yet, so keep an eye out. Same with Brett Maher. Don't mind that. Really wish this was here a few hours ago, but Zach Moss. Don't hate that. It depends on if Anthony Richardson's playing or not, stealing yards from Zach Moss. Yeah, that really depends. I'd have to look more into these numbers for Zach Moss. I like him in Battle Royale, though. That's an interesting line for Pittman. You can definitely get after this Rams secondary. Pretty terrible defense, actually. But again, if Anthony Richardson's starting, I'm not 100% in love with this. So, oh wow, this is low for Josh Downs. I'd have to dig more into these ones. I'm really annoyed that these weren't here when I started a few hours ago. Matt Gay, I don't mind that. I'm not going to hang my hat on any of these, but I'm going to go back to the well. I'm going to go back to the well with Russell Wilson here. He just keeps getting disrespected. 2 weeks in a row, 300-plus passing yards. Jerry Jeudy's back to full health. Courtland Sutton looks like the Courtland Sutton of old. Marvin Mims is good for a 50-yarder at least once a game. Give me the over for Russell Wilson. This team is going to be ultra salty. This team is going to be super unhappy with themselves after last week's showing, mostly on the defensive side of the ball for sure. But I don't think if this team's on a roll, I don't think they'll stop. They're going to try to score as many points as they possibly can. They just got embarrassed. They got their fucking asses handed to them on a silver platter last week by the Miami Dolphins. So they're going to be super salty. On the road, yes, in Chicago, the weather's fine. Not a lot of wind, windy city. 233 passing yards. Give me the over. Again, the disrespect. 2 weeks in a row, 300-plus for Russell Wilson. With everything that I just said, give me the over. Don't mind the rushing yards, but I'll take the passing yards because they're going to be super salty wanting to win this game. So I'll be taking that. Don't mind this for Javonte Williams. If you want to take the rushing side of this, I can't very well, hit both. I can't go over passing yards and over rushing yards. Yes, it could absolutely happen, but it's just not something that I'm going to bet on. I'm not going to bet on both of those things happening, right? So you could take them on separate slips if you want, but I'm not putting this on my bet slip. But I do like that number. Smaji, whatever. I don't mind this number for Courtland Sutton. But with Jerry Jeudy back fully this week, they both smashed these numbers last week. But with him coming back and Marvin Mims playing his role, I just don't want to. I don't want to take one of these receivers and have the other guy hit. You know what I mean? So I'm just going to go with the Russell Wilson over passing yards. I can't, I certainly couldn't blame you if you take either of these pass catchers on the Broncos offense. But I'm not going to just yet until it kind of levels out. And Marvin Mims didn't have a line. Okay, he still doesn't have a line. So I just want to avoid that and go with the quarterback in this situation. We'll see if these lines move a little bit. If Jerry Jeudy gets under 50, I'll like that a whole lot more, and I'll probably hit that if it's 49.5. But we'll see. Keep an eye on the slips. Maybe I'll loop it in with Russell Wilson, like I did last week with Cortland Sutton, but we'll see. Not touching this side. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the dumpster fire, the absolute tire fire that is the Chicago Bears right now. They're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment stolen. Coaches are getting raided by the FBI. They're resigning. Justin Fields calling out coaches. It's a mess. It's an absolute disaster in Chicago. This rushing total is egregious to me. This is what I wanted to look at when this game came up. When this game came about, I was very much, I want to know what Justin Fields rushing total is going to be. Because if it was, 20, high 20s, low 30s, I would smash. Very smart line. I get it. It's a good line because it's accurate to where it kind of should be. Because, but going off the whole season so far, I think this is a little egregious, but good on you. It's a smart line. I'm not touching the passing yards. I just don't want to put my money in the hands of Justin Fields' right arm. That's for sure. So I'm avoiding this side. Khalil Herbert, I'm not so sure he gets the most run this week at all. I actually really, really, really like Roschon Johnson this week. There's no line for him, which kind of breaks my heart because I would probably be smashing the over, especially if it's in the 20s. If it's 20 rushing yards, something like that, I'll be hammering Roschon Johnson. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on Underdog for if a line comes out for Roschon Johnson, and if or when it does, I will almost certainly be smashing the over. I think that it's a bit of a coming out party for Roschon. Khalil Herbert lost a fumble last week. He's already been seeding carries. Johnson has already gotten ahead of Deontay Foreman and, is the backup to Khalil Herbert. But technically, he got the first snap, and technically, he was the starter last week. So keep an eye on Twitter, keep an eye on Underdog. And if you see a line for Roschon Johnson, if it's in the high 20s, low 30s, I recommend hitting the over, and I will be if or when it comes out. DJ Moore, Josh, let's talk about DJ Moore. Again, I just can't do it. I just can't rely on Justin Fields' right arm. I just cannot. Yes, he could smash this 43.5. He could smash this with one catch. Absolutely, he could smash this 43.5 receiving yards. I will not be betting on that. Again, I am never going to, until I see something, I'll never be betting on Justin Fields' right arm. Also, don't trust Luke Getsy as a play caller. The Bears need to, right this second, call Greg Roman. I'm not the only person saying this. They need to get Greg Roman on the phone, pay him whatever they need to, get him in the building, figure out how to make this work. They have Justin Fields. It is what it is. He's not going anywhere, at least not this year. Figure out how to use him properly. And then maybe you could use DJ Moore a little bit better as well. He could be that Hollywood Brown receiver to, when Lamar Jackson was an MVP candidate, and Hollywood was 1,000-yard receiver. That's what DJ Moore could be in this offense with Justin Fields if they had a comparable, a friggin' play caller that knew what to goddamn do. It pisses me off, drives me nuts. And I've never liked Greg Roman. I'm going on a bit of a rant here, but it is what it is. I've never been a Greg Roman believer. I've never liked him, wanted him to get fired probably before anyone else was talking about it in Baltimore. I was talking about it in the year after, basically, Lamar won the MVP. Never liked Greg Roman, but he's your only hope. Unfortunately for the Chicago Bears, Greg Roman is your only hope right now. Get him in the building, figure out how to run this offense with Justin Fields, with DJ Moore, with Roschon Johnson, with Cole Kmet. All the pieces are there to be basically exactly what the Baltimore Ravens were when Greg Roman was there. What did they do? Win fucking football games. And that's all that matters. That is all that matters in the NFL, is winning. So, rant over. Get off my soapbox. I'm not betting on DJ Moore. I'm not betting on Justin Fields. I need to see something. I need to see something before I'm putting any money on either of those two guys. Moving on. Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Houston Texans. I don't mind this number for Kenny Pickett, but it's a little on the high side. So I'm not going to touch this one. If it was a 212 and a half, I could get on board. I don't mind the rushing yards either, but I'm not going there. I really thought about, and I might, if this goes down, if this gets down to 52 and a half rushing yards for Najee, hit it last week. It's on the thumbnail. He was part of my my win. People doubted Najee, doubted me for picking Najee. Here we are. I don't mind this 55 and a half, but it's got to get a little lower for me to really hit it. 52 and a half, I'll touch it. In the 40s, I'll absolutely hit it. But right now, I'm going to avoid it because I like George Pickens. 56 and a half. Has that line moved? No, it's not. 56 and a half receiving yards. I like that for George Pickens. Deontay Johnson is still out. Derek Stingley is still out. He's on IR for the Houston Texans. So against that secondary on the road, give me George Pickens. He's beaten this, I think, every week, at least 2 of the 3 weeks off the top of my head. He's beaten this number. So give me George Pickens, 57 yards. I'll be taking the over there someplace. Haven't taken it yet, but I will be. CJ Stroud, don't mind this number, but just not touching it as it sits right now. I am going to be hammering this. I believe I already did. Again, I think I showed the slip to start the show, but I'll post it on Twitter. 47 and a half rushing yards against the Pittsburgh defense. It's really suspect against the run. Dameon Pierce is still going to get a minimum 10 to 15 rushing attempts. This should be a bit of a slower game, and they're going to be allowed to run the ball more than they have in some previous games where, CJ Stroud just had to sling it. So Dameon Pierce should be able to get more run, should be able to get 15 attempts, hopefully. And then he should be able to break this number against this defense on the ground. Again, I already took it. I'll take it again, probably. I really like this number for Dameon Pierce. He's kind of trending up. They got to get away from CJ Stroud just, blowing out his shoulder right now. He's got some issues. He's being managed, things like that. So they got to lean on Dameon Pierce a little bit. And this is the perfect game at home to get that done. So give me the over, 48 rushing yards for Dameon Pierce. Give me that number. I'll take the over all day. Receivers, if I'm taking the running back, I just can't, recommend the receivers. Yes, they could hit, but I'm just not getting on board with that right now. Nothing here yet. I'll probably touch something, but there's not much for lines quite yet on this game. I think it's the second highest point total for the week. So I won't be touching that yet. Don't want to touch this game, at least certainly not on the Arizona side. Just can't trust that team. If they had some sort of rushing or total yards for Rondale, I might look at that because he's getting some run on the ground. Had 54 rushing yards last week and a touchdown. So I'll keep an eye on Rondale Moore for a total yards and see what happens. Don't love the receiving yards, but if it's a total yard situation, I'll take a look. Nothing to see here just quite yet, but that's on the table. What I do like, and this is like relatively unsexy because it's quite unlikely that he gets to 3 passing touchdowns, but give me 2 passing touchdowns for Brock Purdy. He's done this, I think, I believe it's max 2, but he's done this in every single game in his career, except for the game he got injured. Obviously, take that off the table. But every single game he started, he's had 2 or more passing touchdowns. He's done it in 2 or 3 weeks this year. 1 game, maybe 2. If I'm incorrect, it's 2 maximum. So give me the 2 against a terrible defense in San Francisco. It's a home game. Ayuk, Kittle, Debo. There's other weapons there. Juwan Jennings. Whatever his name is. I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head, but their third receiver. Yeah. Give me the over. 2 passing touchdowns. Again, he's done it almost every week. And there's another Brock Purdy. That's another, favorite whipping boy right now. Everyone just trying to hate on Brock Purdy. Everyone's saying that, anyone could do it. Sam Darnold could do it. All the kid's done is win. Like literally all he's done in his career is win football games. And people are just still trying to shit on him. I don't understand. So give me the over for Brock Purdy. Nothing to see here yet. I love McCaffrey. He's the number one running back this week, but I'm not betting anything there. This is a weird game. Could see it being very defensive. I'm not touching anything on the Dallas side. Nothing here yet, but I will recommend Hunter Henry, 30.5 receiving yards. Give me the over. He gets back on track, had kind of 1 week off. This is actually a good matchup for tight ends. Not a bad matchup for wide receivers, to be honest, with Diggs out, but give me give me Hunter Henry over 31 receiving yards. I'll take that. I think I took it already. I'm not entirely sure if I have the slip, but either way, check my Twitter. All my slips are there. If I haven't taken this yet, I will be taking Hunter Henry, 31 receiving yards. The last one I got, and we'll get into some battle royales. I'm going to skip DraftKings. If anyone will really want some DraftKings content, now's your time to fire it in the chat. I'll do it if there's enough interest. If not, we're going to get right into some battle royales and do some drafting. I got one more bet on my slip. Nothing on the Dallas side, like I said. It's just the two quite good defenses on the road. I just don't think I can trust anything. Dak Prescott, I'm not sure I can trust him with his receivers. I was looking at Jake Ferguson. That's where I was looking, but I'll leave it there for now. Nothing here yet. This could just be an absolute massacre. Chiefs against the Jets. The Jets just got to go out and sign Carson Wentz. I've been saying it for weeks and weeks and weeks, like 15 minutes, courtesy 15 minutes after Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles. I was saying Carson Wentz is on the street, ready to go. He's contacted the Jets. I don't understand. You're going to lose the locker room, Bob Saleh. You're going to lose the locker room. They're already revolting. It's already a mutiny in there. They're already pissed off that you're trotting out this goofy looking fuck. Like, really ridiculous that he's still playing quarterback for this team after everything that we've seen, that they've seen, the franchise, players on the team, fans, coaches. Makes no sense. How do you trot this kid out week in and week out and say that he gives you the best chance to win a football game? Carson Wentz is the guy that you need to go sign right now, fire him in the game, get him up to speed, and let's get some fucking wins on the board. Just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me what the Jets are doing. This is wild. Look at this kid. He can't play football. He can't. I never liked this kid. I had him ranked outside of my top 5 for quarterbacks in the draft year that he was drafted 2nd overall. Madness. Moving on. Last bet I got. Another little rant. The last bet I got is on Monday night. This one's easy to me. This is pretty disrespectful. How are you giving it 64.5 rushing yards to Kenny Walker? It is a road game. It is a cross-country game. I get it. But it's Kenny Walker. He's going to get 65-plus rushing yards as long as, I'm not even going to say it. He's going to get 65-plus rushing yards. You better believe it. So that's one that I think I've already bet. Check my slips. I'll post them on Twitter. But that's my last bet so far. I think that's a disrespectful number if you ask me. So I'll be hitting that one. That's all I got for now. Again, like I said, like I always say, I've said it about 37,000 times so far. Check Twitter for my bet slips. But let's get into some battle royales. Again, no one put anything in the chat for DraftKings. We're going a little over time. I definitely want to get some drafting in, get some battle royales going. So let's dig into that. I've already done 23 of these, 23 and me of these battle royale drafts. I'll probably get it up to maybe like 50 or so. I've been treading water, just doggy paddling in these battle royales. I think I've only done it for 2 weeks, weeks 2 and week 3. I think I've won like $50 total, which is literally obviously nothing. But you got to play to win. So we'll see. 30K up top. I haven't even been close to getting close, but I've been treading water. So I'm jumping in one. If you're in the chat and you want to draft, let's get it. Filled pretty quick. Hopefully that means that someone's in there. Let's do this. Danny Deals I've drafted with. If you're in the chat and you're in the draft, let me know. I've been fourth, fifth, or sixth, almost every single one of these. At least I'm gonna have like some diversity with Keenan Allen, Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase has jumped up. I was taking him a ton at 4 and 5. I guess I was part of that ADP jump, but that's where he belonged, in my opinion, was ahead of Devontae Adams without Jimmy Garoppolo playing, most likely. Anyone that's had anyone that's come out with a conky in a game is pretty much missing the next week, almost 100%. Since Tua, with everything he went through, with concussions and stuff like that, anytime a guy gets smacked in the head, gets a little conky, he's probably missing the next week's game. So that's where he should have been ahead of Devontae Adams. Well, let's see what I do here. Maybe I take Jamar Chase again. I've just been fourth, fifth, sixth, probably 18 of my 23 drafts so far. Number one, McCaffrey, every single draft, he should be the 1-1. If you're at the 1-2 and you get McCaffrey, thank you, Lucky Stars, and smash his name as quick as you can. I'm going to just go Keenan Allen. I'm going to go Keenan Allen because I don't think I have a Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams stack or start. So if that's available, I'll do that because I don't have it yet. Even if, Aiden O'Connell's playing, it's still Devontae Adams against a terrible defense. But you don't want to chase last week's stats either. That's a big thing with this type of contest and DFS and things like that is, don't chase last week's stats. But Devontae Adams is a guy that can do that again. I'm not going to say easily, but he could definitely do that again. I'm going to take, if I can't get Christian McCaffrey, which you can't unless you're 1-1, maybe 1-2, then I'd like taking TJ Hawkinson relatively early because he's the smash at tight end. Then George Kittle. For me, it's TJ Hawkinson, George Kittle, and then everyone else, realistically. Even Mark Andrews, I'm not excited to take realistically. So if I'm not getting TJ Hawkinson, I'm putting a priority on George Kittle. If I'm not getting George Kittle, then fuck it. I'll take Tyler Higbee, Jake Ferguson, Hunter Henry, maybe Cole Kmet if I'm doing something crazy with Justin Fields, which I haven't yet, and I probably won't. But yeah, that's what I'm doing with the tight end situation and without getting Christian McCaffrey. Because those onesie spots, you're not taking two tight ends, especially not this week with no Kelsey. You're definitely not taking two tight ends. And to be honest, I'm not taking very much two RB builds. I'm doing a lot of three wide receiver builds this week. Whether that works or not, or ends up being the nuts or not, we'll see. But that's just what I'm doing. That's just what I'm doing. This guy could take Herbert. So I'm going to take Justin Herbert here. This guy obviously can't. He has Josh Allen. This guy could to bring it back with Devontae Adams. So I'll just take Justin Herbert right here, stack him up with Keenan Allen. And then I got what probably should be the number one tight end this week in TJ Hawkinson. So let's see how this builds out. Don't mind CD. I don't mind CD in Battle Royale. No, I didn't bet on him on my betting slips, but I don't mind CD in, especially because he's been dropping. He could be a target monster. So I'll leave that there. Definitely need a. That's Eckler. Definitely need a running back. Probably will only be taking one, which means I really like Josh Jacobs here, but I don't want Chris Olave to get sniped on me. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick Chris Olave. I think he could have a 2-touchdown, 100-yard 2-touchdown game this week against Tampa Bay. Yeah, typically, speaking of we're earlier in the show, I was talking about Mike Evans with Lattimore and how it's a very personal rivalry between those two. So if the same thing is true on the Saints side, it's Mike Thomas. It's not Chris Olave. So if this gets a little bit chippy, hopefully Chris Olave can keep his nose clean and then just kind of, fade into obscurity a little bit and then catch 2 deep balls for 2 touchdowns. Because I think that's certainly on the table for Chris Olave. I love him in Battle Royales and DraftKings this week. A little thirsty. All right. Almost definitely won't be taking 2. No, I certainly will not be taking 2 running backs in this build. I'm not 100% if Debo is going to play. I don't mind Zach Moss. Getting the job done. Back-to-back weeks, he's had a touchdown, 30 carries against Baltimore. But I'm going to go with Derrick Henry. He's just kind of my go-to late in these drafts at running back because he's not getting drafted in every draft, that's for sure. And everyone just likes to hate on him right now. And I think that it's very, very on the table. He's very live for 100 yards, 2 touchdowns against my Bengals. Very live for it. So I'll be taking that bet. Ayuk's been limited all week. So then I like to scroll down. I want to try to get a little bit unique. Don't mind Tank Dell. Don't mind Jacoby Myers if it calls for it. But without Jimmy G, that's a little touch and go. Don't mind Jordan Addison realistically, but no need to here. The guy I'm going to take, I told you I love him in Battle Royales, and I'm going to certainly dig into his numbers a little more for my Pick'em slips. I'm going Tutu Atwell. I think he's live again to 100 yards and a touchdown. He gets all the deep ball action from Matt Stafford, who loves to throw the ball downfield. So I wouldn't doubt that I have this exact build, which I need to get a little more unique. Probably not with Chris Olave and Tutu, but either way, I like this. I like this type of a build. I like it. Let's do another one. Jump in if you're in the chat. If you want to draft, let's go. Wait on 5. So tons of room if you're in the chat and you want to draft. Give me the 1-1 or maybe the 1-2. I've had the 4-5-6 every single fucking draft, and I'd really like some diversity. I'd really like to get some Christian McCaffrey exposure, even some Justin Jefferson exposure. But it is what it is. We'll see. You draft where you draft. Watch me get 4 again. 4. 6. There you go. Makes sense. Socrates. That's kind of funny. I don't know if I've drafted with him before or not. Not entirely sure. This guy's got the head thing. This guy's got the horns. I think that means he won a battle royale, I believe. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure what all these different things on Underdog mean. I know the red badge is, I don't know, 1,000 drafts or something like that, I think. And then the black is 500, I think, something like that. I'm not entirely sure what the badges mean, if I'm perfectly honest with you guys, but it doesn't really matter to me. There's good players everywhere. Badges don't mean shit. But what am I going to do at 6? I don't know. I'll probably mix in like an AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts. I'll do Diggs and Allen if it's there, if it's available. I'll do Keenan Allen and Devontae Adams if it's there. Might as well stack up your game at the end of the draft. Might as well. So this will be the last draft. This will be the last draft for the night. It's good. When the pick'ems went a little longer, but you know, if I'm on a roll, made some money, you got to keep it going, right? So there you go. I'll take Jamar Chase. That's for damn sure. All right. Yeah, I'll take Chase. I've done a bunch of Jamar Chase and TJ Hawkinson, but I'm going to go Jamar Chase and Jalen Hurts here. And then if AJ Brown falls, awesome. I doubt he does, but I don't mind bringing in Devontae Smith either. You know, with his off game last week, I don't expect that to continue. He had some deep balls that he just missed, some possible touchdowns. So I think he bounces back. But if AJ Brown falls to me, I'll take him as well. He should have gotten the end zone as well. He had a good game against Tampa Bay. Obviously, you know, they had a little skirmish, a little disagreement. And, you know, now they're back to being best friends after you give them 14 targets, give them the ball. You know, that got a little sour, but they're winning that game pretty handily. So, and that was just a couple deep balls for Devontae Smith, right? So it's not like he was picking favorites over there. Might be an Austin Eckler team as well. If he does play, which it looks like he's going to, he looks good. He was jumping around at practice a little bit, dancing, you know, doing some gritty action at practice. If he's doing that, he's got to feel good. You know, feel good, play good. And there he goes. He's going to rise. He's going to rise throughout the week. I should have been taking him a little more early when you could get him in like the 4th round. He's going in the 2nd now, and he'll probably move up to the 2nd. But you know, they could throw the ball a ton. They could get in the end zone, you know, 4 times through the air. Justin Herbert could run in a touchdown. He's still coming off an injury. You want to be sure with him. It's not the end of the world if you don't have a crazy amount of exposure to Austin Eckler. AJ Brown's still on the board. Devontae Smith obviously still on the board. TJ Hawkinson shouldn't be there. I'll be smashing TJ Hawkinson. That would be the perfect world. It would be, you know, let's go CeeDee Lamb right here. George Kittle right here. But I'll be hitting George Kittle almost for sure. Yeah. So probably be going like this unless I get sniped. Perfect. Really wouldn't mind taking Josh Jacobs here either, but I just can't really pass up on these two. Like I said, if I'm not getting Hawkinson, then George Kittle's a high priority for me in these battle royales. Saw a stat today on Twitter. George Kittle without Deebo Samuel in the lineup, he catches a touchdown every single time or 2. And, you know, gets his yards, gets his catches. But realistically, you just need your tight end to get in the end zone. And then whatever else he gets, obviously he's going to get some catches and some yards with that. So that's all kind of cake after that. If you get 14 points, 15 points out of your tight end spot, you're looking good here. If he gets in the end zone twice and has 80 yards, you're laughing, and he's probably the nuts tight end. So there you go. Certainly on the table. He's certainly live for that. So that's what I prioritize, TJ Hawkinson. And then if not, then it's Kittle or bust for me. Definitely got to go with the running back again. It's a position that I'm kind of punting unless I get Christian McCaffrey, or the build makes sense where it's a bring back with Josh Jacobs on the Chargers, or even Mostert maybe with Buffalo. James Cook with Miami, you know, bringbacks, that sort of thing. And then I'm looking at Derrick Henry. So we'll see if he bumps up. Other than that, it's pretty weak. You could throw in Madison in there. Roschon Johnson's getting drafted. That's interesting. He could be the nuts winner. He certainly could be. I don't know if I'm going to have the stones to take him. Maybe once or twice if I have 50 lineups. Maybe I'll mix him in, but as it sits right now, nothing. Cam Akers will be active, but that doesn't really matter. Who's drafting Dario Ogunbowale? That's ridiculous. Yeah, that's funny. Anyways, what are we doing here? Oh, give me Josh Jacobs. Dang it. So running back and probably might as well just try Swift here. 130 yards, 175. They could be blowing them out. I'll take some Swift action. And then I don't have anything that I want to bring back. Or no, I don't want Swift. Oh no. Oh, yuck. Didn't really want Henry, but I didn't want Swift with Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith. So that is what it is. A little panicky. Cincinnati. Do I want to take a guy like T. Higgins here? Let's go George Pickens. I don't think I have him yet in Battle Royale. So if he does this, I'm laughing, which is certainly on the table. There you go. Draft number 2. That's it for tonight. Hopefully our picks are looking good. Like I said, 12 out of 13 last week, smashed the slate. Should have made a bunch more money, but it is what it is. It happens. I did come out with a win. So back-to-back weeks, we got a win. You're only as good as your last week in fantasy football. So hopefully, we got some picks right. Check my my Twitter handles right there for bet slips if you want to tail or just get some ideas, put your own slips together. If you like a piece here, piece there of the stuff that I'm putting out, then mix it in with your own stuff, and hopefully all come away winners. But like I always say, with Off the Schneid, if you're afraid to be wrong, you'll never be right. Hopefully tonight we were right. Hopefully this week we crush it again and we keep the winning streak rolling. Hit that like and subscribe for me if you don't mind on your way out. Come back next week, next Wednesday, same time, same place. As always, we'll be doing the same thing, talking pick'ems, talking Battle Royale. But we'll see you next week. Again, like and subscribe.